Hey, what's up guys? Evan here again with another deck review, and today I've got a really special review. It is for the Legends decks. It's not a United States Playing Card Company deck, but it is the best non-United States Playing Card Company deck I've ever handled. I wouldn't say that it's better than the USPC, but they have very, very different feels, and I personally love the feel of this one. So let's take a look at all of the colors. First off, we have the porcelain blue color, that's what they call it, and it's a nice deep blue, which is really great. Then we have the fire red, very bright, vibrant colors, looks very nice. And then we have the jade green color, which has some metallic inks on it on the back design, but I'll talk about that a little bit when we show you this one. The metallic inks aren't great. There aren't any extra cards with the deck, so to start off we'll take a look at the Ace of Spades and the Jokers. The Ace of Spades is pretty simple but very nice looking. It's a big spade with a dragon in it, and it looks really nice. At the top it says Legends, and since this is the Legends number 852 deck, it says that under the spade, and then it's got some copyright info under that. So now we'll take a look at the Jokers, which are more dragons actually, and in the hand of the dragon you'll see that he's holding a card that's face down, and then when you go to the other one it's face up, so there's a nice reveal. The Jokers are very artistic and they look really cool. So now we're going to take a look at the number cards. The number cards are pretty much standard looking. I'm not sure if they're exactly standard because it's not a United States Playing Card Company deck, so I'm not sure if they can use standard, but from what I can tell it looks very close to the standard decks. The one thing that I noticed as one of the many, many hidden things in the deck is that some cards have a thicker indice, so you can see the 4 is a lot thicker and more bold than the A for Ace. And that's with a bunch of the cards. Kind of interesting. And there are just a bunch of hidden things throughout the deck, and it's really cool if you can find some of them. There are some very creative ones. So now we're going to take a look at the court cards, which are also sort of standard looking. The body is very similar to the standard court cards, and then the faces of the court cards are changed, kind of like David Blaine's decks. They're not exactly the same, but they have actual people's faces. So that's very interesting. There's one of the queens, and then the king of spades. So some people might like it. I personally don't like that. I would much prefer fully custom court cards or just standard court cards over these, but some people might like them. Now we're going to take a look at the back design, which is really cool. It's a very detailed and intricate back design, but it has a really cool design. The green deck is the only deck out of the 3 that has metallic ink on the back, so the green part is metallic ink, but it's really not that metallic-y. Not close to how the metallic inks look from United States Playing Card Company decks, but I'm sure that's something that they will work on at this printer. So there's your back design. You have in the center Lawrence Sullivan's logo, who's the guy who had the idea for this deck. And then he partnered up with David Blaine, Bill Kalish from Conjuring Arts, and Mark Stutzman, who designed the David Blaine posters, David Blaine's decks, and he designed this deck. So he did a great job with the back design. It has very thin borders, which look great. I really like that. And they're cut very evenly. The edges are smooth, which is nice. So there's your detailed back design. Now that we've looked at the design of the deck, let's take a look at the handling. So like I said, these decks are not from the United States Playing Card Company, so they don't have air cushion finish or any other finish or stock from there. But the finish on here is very nice. The cards actually do have dimples, sort of like USPC decks. And the stock is really cool. It's a very thin stock, much thinner than the United States Playing Card Company decks. And it's not a thin deck that is very soft stock. It's actually thin and stiff stock. The stock isn't super stiff, but it's definitely a little stiffer than most United States Playing Card Company decks. But it's not a bad thing. It handles really nice. Like I said, those thin borders are great for fans, and they look very nice in fans. The design shows, which is awesome. Pressure fans with this deck are pretty easy, and like I said, they look nice. Spreads in the hands are pretty nice. Not great because they don't really slide too well. Spreads on the close-up pad are very nice. The design shows with those thin borders, and it creates a nice pattern. Lapel spreads with this deck are really nice. I love doing lapel spreads with this deck because they look great with those thin borders, and they're just really good in general for lapel spreads, so that's a definite plus. I've heard a lot of people say that farrowing with this deck is pretty nice, and the edges are pretty smooth, which is great, but I've had a lot of trouble farrowing with this deck and the red deck. Those are the ones that I have open, and both of them I haven't really been able to farrow too easily. I can definitely farrow, but it takes a little while with these. But I guess for some decks it might be different. So here is what it looks like when you farrow the decks, at least for me. So when you farrow the decks, they're pretty nice. It takes a little longer than it would with a USPC deck, at least for me, but it does farrow very nice. Giant fans with this deck are also very cool. The design shows they giant fan very nicely, so giant fans are great with this deck. I really, really like it. Another great thing about this deck is that it lasts a long, long time. I've been using these a ton for the past couple months, and they've just held up so well. It does take a little while to break in, but once you break it in, the handling will stay really nicely for a long time. If you're a magician, I highly recommend these. The design isn't really suspicious, and the handling is great. It's good for slates and for other magic tricks. If you're a flourisher, again, I recommend this deck to you a lot. The cards are great for flourishing, fans, displays, all of the above. If you're a collector, this is definitely a deck for you. They only released a very small amount of the first edition decks, so if you can find them somewhere, they are sold out from the original sellers, so I'm sure you guys can find them on eBay or from resellers, but check out LawrenceSullivan.com. He's the guy who thought up this deck, so I'll put a link to that in the description. Another thing that I want to point out is that on the cellophane on the box, when you get a brand new deck, the tear strip actually works, so definitely look for that. You just pull it all the way around and the top of the cellophane will come off and it'll leave the bottom part, so you'll be able to open it and keep the box in better condition, which is nice. Thank you guys so much for watching. Remember to comment, rate, and subscribe.